What is your favorite platformer? There's so many different answers to this question. Some might say a Super Mario game, whether it be the original, World, 64, Galaxy, New Super Mario Bros., not New Super Mario Bros. U, or any of the various ROM packs. Maybe you're more into games that favor exploration, like Castlevania or Super Metroid. Maybe you just adore Mega Man and you can't point to why. Or you love indie games like The Messenger or Celeste. Now, these are all great games, and I also share a love for all of them. However, my favorite is none of these. My favorite isn't in any of these series. My favorite isn't even on console. My favorite platformer is a mobile exclusive platformer released in 2016 called Super Cattails. Hi, my name is Pyro143, and this is my favorite platformer that you've never heard of. Super Cattails is a mobile indie platformer developed by Neutronized, with the idea coming from Jonathan Pesaresi. It was released in 2016 and has two sequels, Super Cattails 2 and Super Cattails Pause. Those aren't the focus of the video, but they are very cool and you should play them. The greatness of Super Cattails starts from the beginning, with its tutorials. You start the game as a cat named Alex in the first world, Cedar Woods, sitting on a pink checkerboard, and you're prompted with two large arrows on the left and right. If that isn't obvious enough, a sign pops up saying tap left or right to walk, with a visual making it extra clear. You then walk forward and are prompted with the first bell of the game, which makes a large bell icon pop up from the screen, capturing your attention and letting you make the connection that collecting bells is a good thing. Then you are met with a wall. As the sign so helpfully explains, if you walk into a wall and hold, you will climb up the wall. Finally, to end the first level off cleanly, the end of the level is clearly displayed with a black checkerboard, where stepping on it ends the level. Following that up, the second level teaches you how to run. Double tap left or right, and you will run in that direction. To emphasize this running action, there's a field of dandelions that you run straight through, causing a bell to spawn. But it doesn't immediately get obtained. Instead, you have to brake. The next sign teaches you how to do. Press the opposite direction while running. You might also discover you don't learn how to brake immediately, and when you run into a wall, you don't climb up it. Instead, you smack your head against it. Later, once this concept is explained to you, you might feel extra cool for having figured out this concept earlier. However, you do have to climb the wall, where the sign teaches you how to wall jump, which you can do by pressing the opposite direction while climbing. The third level introduces the last major movement option, which is jumping. Normally in platformers, there's a specific button for jumping, usually something like A or up. However, Super Cattails, being a mobile game, is aware of how difficult and janky it would be. So, instead of doing that, if you run off a cliff, you leap off it. After a sign explaining that you can change how fast you need to click for a run to activate, you encounter your first enemies. After trying to run into one, you'll find that stars appear over Alex's head, but they go away after a while. However, if you hit an enemy while stunned, you'll fall off the screen, similar to how Mario does in the original Mario games. After that, you see a bell on the ground. This is the first bell that you have to earn yourself. You know that if you run off a cliff, you jump. But what happens if you walk off a cliff? Once you try that, you fall off the cliff, allowing you to pick up the bell safely. And that is all these games' major controls. And I think this is one of the ways that this game shines. Very quickly, you get a grasp of how this generally unconventional platformer controls. And unlike a lot of mobile platformers that try to jam in a jump button, even if it's clunky, Super Cattails plays super wonderfully without any modifications needed. And this super simple 2-button system is the only system throughout the game, and I cannot stress how wonderful it feels to play. Like, genuinely, try it out for yourself. It feels like you have so much control over the character in a very, very good way. The fourth level is the first real level. Not much of note in the level, besides a bunch of stone blocks that seem to be blocking a passageway you can't get through. Then, you reach your first town level, Todoroki Village. In these town levels, you can talk to a bunch of NPCs who give you very useful things, like advice on how the stun lasts 5 seconds, a mission to enter the oak tree, or free coins if you rate the game. Side note, if you're gonna play this game, click the rate now button, as it allows you to unlock a bunch of other dialogue throughout the game. At the very end of the town level, you reach a shop. There are also some premium items, but these can generally be ignored unless you want to support the Neutronized team. There's also the helpers, which do the following. Coconut shoots seeds downwards, Mr. Cloud shoots lightning horizontally, Jellyfish shoots bubbles around and can go underwater, Goldenback collects coins and doubles the coins it grabs. Ghost unveils where a hard to spot secret might be in the level. Phoenix melts the ice blocks, and Icebird freezes hot blocks. Although most of these are just fun to have around and make the levels a little easier, as well as getting the Helping Paw achievement unlocked by using every helper, some are required for certain tasks. For example, Jellyfish, Phoenix, and Icebird are all required for certain bells. This technically isn't true, but we'll get to that later. These guys are a lot of fun to have around, although they're pretty easy to miss in a casual playthrough. 1-6 is pretty similar in terms of gameplay to 1-4, although it features the wood beetle enemy who stops moving for a while once you slam into a wall. This becomes important in 1-7, the first boss battle level. Nearing the end of the level, you see a wood beetle, but significantly larger, and you are locked in the battle room. This is Queen Beetle, the first boss of the game. You try to stand on her platform, she will chase after you and try to knock you off. However, what might be apparent is the two X's on the side of the bottom of the battle room. Knowing what you know about wood beetles, you might try to run into them, and if she's upside down, it works, and you defeat her, allowing you to move further. 1-8 is the final level of World 1, and it shows the very last main mechanic, butterfly jars. By collecting these jars, 5 butterflies pop out, and you need to collect all of them in order to get a bell. Most of the levels throughout this game are very similar, so from this point on, I'm only going to be talking about the worlds in general and some specific levels. World 2, Sandy Shore, is a beach world which features some water sections where pressing left and right becomes jumping, and some heavy water currents. In 2-2, you encounter another cat, Brutus, an orange tabby cat who is significantly larger than Alex. In 2-3, you learn that you can switch cats on pink checkerboards even if they're in the middle of a level. By switching to Brutus, you learn that he can smash through stone blocks while Alex can climb higher. Knowing this information, you might think back to way back in 1-4, where there was that stone wall. Sure enough, if you go back to 1-4's Brutus, you can break through the stone wall and find a red checkerboard, acting as a secret exit, bringing you to 1-special, where you have to find which of 3 jars the bell ends up in. Turns out, each world is a secret level like this, and they all have these fun little mini games for 1 bell each. In 2-7, you encounter Shinji, a cat who can swim through strong currents and can hop on water. Personally, this is my favorite cat to play as. World 2's boss fight is against Big Fin, who is a big fish chasing you from the side. You can run away from it, and just outswim it to the right side. However, in the level, there's a bell hidden behind it. Now there are 2 ways to get it. Either you can get a jellyfish helper to kill it, or if you die 3 times, you can become a golden invincible cat. Featuring one of the best songs in the series, you can crush through enemies, jump on lava, and go right past Big Fin and collect the bell. Now that that's out of the way, World 3, Nugget Canyon, is a mining hub. Its main feature is levers, which, depending on the type, either open or close doors, or open doors when multiple are turned on in a quick succession. In 3-House, you meet Kuro, a cat who has a headlamp on his head, meaning you can see in the dark, which is used in some specific levels. The boss of World 3 is Chief Miner, who is defeated once you crush them in a door using a lever. World 4, Snowy Plains, features a bunch of ice blocks, as well as gusts of wind that shoot you upwards. In 4-2, with Key from 4-3, you can meet Amy. Yes, I am saying Amy's name right, who can squeeze through tight spaces. The boss of World 4 is a giant ice dragon with not much to it. World 5, Lava Ruins, is probably the least interesting in terms of content. It has lava, which is like water but it hurts you, and has hot blocks, which will turn from damaging to non-damaging on a cyclical timer. Its boss is pretty much a repeat of World 4's, except that it's fire, not ice. However, I just want to talk about one level. Just one level. The most frustrating level I played. 5-3. Lava Coaster. In 5-3, you are floating over lava, riding these slow roller coasters that are controlled by where you are standing. For the first sections, it's easy enough. All of a sudden, though, these lava bubbles come out of the ground and can very easily knock you off if you're not careful. There's a section with 4 in a row. I cannot tell you how many times I died there. The platforms are way smaller than you hope they'd be, and you basically have to stand all the way on the right edge or you are dead. I love this game, but I hate 5-3 so much. Moving right along, World 6, Temple Jungle, is the last world of this game. It features these mud pits that you can get stuck in or have to move slowly in. In 6-2, you meet the very last cat, Ollie. Ollie, when jumping, will slowly glide down instead of falling, which is honestly a super useful ability, makes a lot of situations easier. In 6-House, you start to learn about the final boss. There are a bunch of scientists analyzing this tower, and the locals warn you not to go in. So what do? We go in. 6-6 needs 3 keys in a row, which is unusual. Why would this be so guarded? Well, you find out immediately. It's very difficult. In both 6-6 and 6-7, you need to switch cats over and over and over again in order to make it through. And 6-8, the final level. You walk over, go down a pit, and encounter... What is that? All of a sudden, instead of having a normal boss fight against a cute creature, you encounter dark matter. A dark glob of red eyes that is there to attack you. It moves faster than any other boss, and to beat the boss, you have to ride on lava coasters again. However, using Ollie makes it a lot easier, thanks to being able to glide over long gaps, making your time on these goddamn coasters much smaller. However, there are also fire bars, making the section with dark matter and fire bars and lava coasters and lava bubbles probably the hardest section in the entire game. However, after beating dark matter, you can finally breathe in a sigh of relief. You've done it! You've beaten Super Cattails. You probably feel wonderful. While being a short and easy experience, Super Cattails is a lovely one. With one of the best control schemes out there, especially for mobile, incredible music composed by Dreamspell that you've been listening to this whole time, and an adorable art style headed by Jonathan, it's no wonder people love this game. And as someone who likes this condensed and cute experience, I'm very proud to call this game my favorite platformer of all time. But there's so many questions left unanswered. Why is there 8 cats in the menu screen if you only use 6? Which came first, Super Cattails or Super Cat Bros? Why in the Lord's name does 5-3 exist? I had to know. And so I typed up a message to Neutronize asking if he'd be willing to answer a few questions. And I anxiously pressed the enter key. And after a couple months, nothing happened. No reply. But there were still so many things to know. And if I wasn't going to get the answers from Neutronized, I'd have to find them myself. As I mentioned earlier, Super Cattails has 2 sequels along with a couple of spin-offs. And with any ordinary game, you'd assume that the original would be the most popular. However, with Super Cattails, that just isn't the case. Information on Super Cattails 1 is barren. There's no page on the sprite as a resource for Super Cattails 1, only Super Cattails 2 and pause. On the cutting room floor, there's only a page for Super Cattails 2. And every video that Neutronize made for Super Cattails related news has been about Super Cattails 2 or pause. However, we can glimpse some information from some of these videos. To follow the development of Super Cattails 2, Neutronize made 19 developer logs, with some videos harkening back to the development of Super Cattails. In devlog 11, Neutronize reveals many unused enemies, including moles, spike moles, this guy here, an acorn enemy, chickens, and octopi. As well as that, it reveals 2 minigames, including a minigame where Alex will be in a minecart, and one where Alex will be strapped to a balloon. We don't know much about these minigames, but I'm sure they'd be fun. In devlog 13, Neutronize reveals that the boss fights were made with certain rules in mind. The player cannot attack the bosses directly, the bosses must be defeated in a single hit in order to make the game more casual, and they must be connected to the world they came from. Although most of the information given about the bosses was already known, Neutronize revealed that the skeletons, as well as Chief Miner, were the miners that went missing, as they succumbed to their own greed to the point where they died trying to get more, which is an oddly poignant message for a game about cute cats. As well as that, it highlights that dark matter's weakness is the light, which is the reason for the light at the end of the tunnel. In devlog 17, Neutronize reveals that there were many scrap cats. Judging by how he talks about Mac, Meow, and Luna, the 2 then reveal new cats for Super Cattails 2. It is unlikely that the 2 were related to the 2 unused cats from Super Cattails 1, as they were made specifically for the revamped cat variety in Super Cattails 2. Similarly to the Super Cattails 2 development logs, there were a couple more made for Super Cattails Pause. In devlog 8, Neutronize reveals that the levels of Super Cattails 1 were based more around what was fun for that level, much like an arcade game. In devlog 9, Neutronize talks about its collision system, which is self-made, talks about how the bugs were unintentional, but they were kept for the purpose of charm. In devlog 24, Neutronize reveals that the helpers are minions, similar to how enemies are referred to as minions. Outside of these devlogs, a couple more videos glean out some information about Super Cattails. In top 10 spooky video game enemies, Neutronize reveals that dark matter is the root of every evil, making it the scariest enemy in gaming. In his video about NPC secrets, he reveals that the comments from 5 Special were actually made by a character named Kallio, who became much more prominent in 2 feature games, Drop Wizard Tower and Super Cattails 2. In his video about enemy origins, he reveals that Jellos are hunted by ice dragons and taste like lemons. as well as that beetles come in different colors, as well as that he reveals that dark matter keeps growing from release to release. Past Neutronized videos, information is extremely sparse, but there are a couple things. The website for Super Cattails is supercatbros.com. Sadly, the link is dead, but the Wayback Archive shows that it was a very default website that matches some of the older currently existing promotional websites. The interesting part though is that it suggests that Super Cattails started as Super Cat Bros and became Super Cattails. However, messages by Neutronized reveal otherwise. Super Cattails was always Super Cattails. However, it was changed to Super Cat Bros for marketing purposes. As well as that, it was revealed there was supposed to be a final update for Super Cattails, but it was never finished. In that update, there was supposed to be a true ending and 2 new cats. This update will likely never be released because of difficulties with the publisher. But Neutronized has toyed around with the idea of a self-published Super Cattails 1 remake, although nothing official has been said. And I've left my favorite discovery for last. In the 4th devlog for Super Cattails 2, Neutronized criticized 5-3 like any sane person would. The reason he said it worked out like that was because he associated incremental length with incremental difficulty, meaning the levels became more difficult by means of just getting longer, hence the frustration. And I'm just so glad to hear that even the creator of this game recognizes that 5-3 is shit. So, we learned a bunch of things about Super Cattails. Our questions were answered. What now? What do we do with this information? We know everything we could ever need to know. What's next? Sure, we could encourage Neutronized to work on a Super Cattails 1 remake, but development takes time, and Neutronized should not feel pressure to do anything that he doesn't want to do. I think we should keep playing Super Cattails. Play SCT2 and pause. Encourage Neutronized to keep working on the games he wants to, like Shadow Trick. And we should keep thinking about why we love Super Cattails. Why do we love Super Cattails? I asked this to some members of the Super Cattails Discord, and here's what they had to say.
It's a nice game to play while you wait for something. I see it more as a casual game.
It's a cute platformer adventure made specifically with mobile devices in mind. That's what I like about the game in general. The music is very nice, and I like how it combines the linear levels with a sense of world building and lore, even if the story is kinda strange.
It's a very simple yet fun game to play and doesn't have any complicated mechanics to get used to, making it a breeze to learn and enjoy.
So yeah, that's Super Cattails. My favorite platformer. You should play it sometime. Or go home and play your favorite platformer. Rediscover all the things that made you love the game. Find out everything you can about it. More than all that, love what you play. Thank you all for watching. I cannot stress how long this video took to make. I started work on it in like early June, and it wasn't until around mid-October that I finally figured out how I could finish the video without the Neutronized interview. I just want to thank you all for supporting my content. If you enjoy this, maybe leave a like, maybe subscribe. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.